Okay, all right, gonna make this video even faster. We're gonna see how I can do it this time. So let's start real quick and let's get through it. All right, so this is gonna be the TLDR version of the other video. I don't really go through the name because I'm trying to get through this real fast. So current change is mutations were removed. That's the current change that just happened. We all see the patch notes. We all understand what's going on. Okay, the past system that existed was mutations existed. You would get 3 mutations. You get a 0.1 to 0.5 boost to a random mod applied after your parents' averaging stuff works out. Okay, now old in theory this. The easy way to abuse this would be to hit incline, hit the mate verb, and just keep doing it over and over again. Also abuse things like C to strong to basically power mate so that you can mate at an even younger age, okay? Now, mom, the way this worked before, or the way that people think it worked would be, let's say mom had 3.0 mod, dad had a 2.5 mod. We're talking about strength, by the way. And son ends up getting a 2.7. Well, son gets a mutation also along with that of 0.3 to his 2.7 strength mod that he got from mom and dad. So now son has 3.0 strength, okay? Now, the question is did the way it worked was, whenever the son would have a kid, would the game consider that the son's strength mod was 2.7, or would the game consider that the son's strength mod was 3.0? And if it did consider 3.0, then that would lead to stacking mutations, which would be very, 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 very broken. Now, I think that's how it works, but maybe it didn't. No. The other thing is you could use mutagen as well, but I don't think mutagen would ever pass down in any capacity. But basically, if you had a very good if you had good mutations, you would just inject yourself mutagen, and you'd be able to have basically double the mutations, okay? Which would be absolutely absurd. Now, what do we really want from this situation? Because we want to have generations feel impactful, right? We want to feel statistically stronger in some way. So to basically have that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the concept and try to figure out how to ways to fix this. Now, the way that generations fix this was it was a different game. Was basically to have a child that benefits from the next gen, basically that is going to be able to take advantage of the full mods from mom and dad, as well as have a good mutation to their mod. The parent would need to be something called full body, which in this game is technically 16, even lower with C to strong, but it needs to be probably increased, not for power as far as body, but for mating full body. We'll have a different concept for this, basically. So, and basically have trained and role played on that character to a specific point in their life, maybe some hidden value, so that it's not just an AFK character that somebody doesn't basically play, but they actually have to role play and do stuff on it, right? So this stops people from making random new alts with crazy unplayable mods, mating mods, AFKing for 10 years, and then hitting mate verb. That's power mating. That's ridiculous. That's stupid, right? So that would fix that problem. Now onto the next one. Mods. How do we fix the mod problem, right? How do we make mods not so out of control, but also make them still feel impactful and rewarding down the line? Well, the way you would do that is you would, instead of having 3 mutations, you'd have 2 mutations. Instead of the mutations being 0.1 to 0.5, it'd be 0.1 to 0.3. Okay, 0.3 would be extremely rare, 0.2 would be pretty good, and 0.1 would be like probably maybe average or something like that, right? And what this does is this allows the kids, as you go down in generations, to be statistically stronger, but not so much that they're just basically just absolutely making it pointless to play a Gen 1 whenever a Gen 2 exists, because that just doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel good, right? So, how do we do this, right? How do we, what's this going to look like, right? So Joey and Susie, both Gen 1, they 25, have a very good kid, okay? Craig at the Gen 2 or whatever, at 25, he gets with Missy, and they have a very good kid. Now, what this does is it allows Joey and Susie to live out their characters' lives, get to age 50, and then at Gen 3, when Craig and Missy have a kid, they have the option of making into that child and reaping the benefits of the legacy that they have then created. Whatever family name they have, basically that type of thing. And if they choose not to, maybe they're busy with life, maybe they have something going on, maybe they just don't want to be back into that family at that exact moment, well, they can also still then talk with the kids of Craig and Missy, who are the Gen 3, and then they can make this agreement where in Gen 3, when you guys have kids, we're going to take and play Gen 5, or Gen 4, or Gen 5, whatever the fuck they want to do. Probably Gen 4, though, because by Gen 4, Joey and Susie should definitely be getting outscaled. We're at Gen 4, it's a whole 3 generations down the line now, right? But basically, it lets them live out their character's life, because they get to, like, age 50, they get to enjoy the family roleplay, and when they make into these Gen 4, Gen 3 characters, they're getting to feel the legacy that they themselves started and created, and it's so cool to be like, Dad, tell me about blah blah blah, and you hear stories from other characters about your great grandfather, who was you, and the things that you did. Maybe you were a great hero, maybe you were a great villain, who fucking knows? But it just makes it impacts the lore, and it makes it more rich and interesting for you to take part of. Okay, So moving past that, what do we do about mods? How do we make these mods impactful over in time and make it people less inclined to power mate and more inclined to IC mate, right? Mate with somebody who just mate with somebody because that is where the IC and the roleplay took you. All right, well, the way that we do that is gonna be with something called legacy mating. All right, legacy mating. Here's a concept of legacy mating. It's basically you get mutations, the mutations that we talked about before, the 2 mutations or whatever, but you keep them as a legacy on your character's bloodline. It's coded into your bloodline. So Joey and Susie, they had their kid. Their kid had a legacy mutation of 0.2. That's what he inherited from first-gen Joey and Susie, right? Okay, Craig has that with him. Now, he's taking that with him, and his base is 2.7, but his legacy as a Gen 2 is plus 0.2 strength, okay? Now, Craig mates with Missy, who had a really shitty strength mod. And that put him down. That put his kid down at a 2.35, which is absolutely garbage and makes Craig feel bad, right? However, because Craig inherited the plus 0.2 mutation legacy strength mod from his first gen parents or whatever, because he was a second gen, that comes back into play and applies to his kid, so his kid doesn't feel as bad to play, and his kid now has a 2.55, even though Craig made it with a shitty mom who had a shitty strength mod, because he probably had better mods other places, but she had shitty in there. Now, that doesn't count for so basically this legacy thing doesn't count for the 2 that you get for automatically being a child, right? So also along with this, Craig's kid gets the random plus 2 mutation mods or whatever, and we're gonna say that hypothetically speaking, he just got whatever for a reason, he got a plus 0.1 and another plus 0.1. Okay, so Craig's kid, even though he started with a Gen started with a strength mod of 2.35, ends up having a strength mod of 2.75, yeah, 2.75 or something like that, which is absolutely way better, and it feels really good. It's not as great as Craig had, but because his other mods are already going to be statistically better, because mom can't just be shit in all areas, unless she's just trolling, then you're good, right? Okay, so Craig then has a kid, Gen 3, and Craig's Gen 3, Craig fucks even worse woman, like even worse, like holy fucking bad shit we're talking. And the chick he fucks has a 1.5 strength mod, while Craig still has the base of 2.35, excluding his legacy mods that he inherited, right? So now, Craig, let's say that kid's gonna have a base strength mod of 2.0, which is horrible compared to what Joey had as the Gen 1 at the beginning. It doesn't fucking matter, because the legacy DNA that Craig has inherited over the years has stacked to the point where he's getting, just off the cusp, before we even talk about the mutations that the Gen 4 himself is going to get, the 2 mutations he's going to get, he's already inheriting plus 0.4 to his strength mod from his legacy DNA because he's a Gen 4. And what that means is he's automatically going to come out the cusp as a 2.4. So instead of being just complete shit 2.0, he's going to be 2.4, and then he's going to get plus 2 mutations on top of that. And again, because Joey's bloodline has been fucking around with these terrible strength women, it means that obviously they're fucking high as fuck in other areas. So we're just looking at the worst mod possible. We're not even looking at the best ones, the ones that just actually been getting great averages across the board and not getting lower due to, these women with absolute shit strength. Now, so that's how we go about fixing that. Legacy mods, I think legacy mutations are the way to go. Maybe the numbers can be tweaked a little bit depending on how long you want the wipe to last. Maybe instead of 2 mods, maybe you do bump it up to 3. Who knows? That would have to be something that would looked upon. I think it's just based on how long you want the wipe to last in general, and how many how many sets of gens you want to go through. And I just think that really adds a layer to it, and it also allows new players to who want to join the game. Maybe they start out as a Gen 1, but it's not the end of the world, because they're going to mate with somebody who's a Gen 3, Gen 4, whatever, and they're just going to keep pushing everything forward. Or maybe they just enjoy playing the Gen 1. Maybe somebody waits for them to play the Gen 1, learn the game a little bit, and then gives them a kid who's going to be like a Gen 5 or something like that. But yeah. So basically TLDR, mutations will work based on family legacy, 2 mutations instead of 3, in theory. It would be a plus 0.1 to 0.3 instead of 0.1 to negative 5 to negative to 0.5 or whatever. And then restrictions would be made on mating based on character age and roleplay bar. And also one more thing that I went over real fast, this last thing. people would say, well, how do you know, like, how's the game going to know which legacies to take? Well, the way it would know is whoever's the highest Jin is going to take all of their legacies mandatory, alright? If you have two Jins who are exactly the same, Jin 3, two Jin 3 characters mating, then it's going to take it's gonna take half, or it's gonna take rather some of the Gen 3 mom, some of the Gen 3 dad, and just there you go. That's what their kids' new legacy mutations will be, or whatever. So that's the end of this video. Holy, I made it really quick. It's only 8 minutes. Actually, it's 10 minutes. Sorry about that. Have a great day.